Hello everyone, Taylor here, and this is my first impressions video of the game Necropolis. This game was developed by Harebrained Schemes, a development brand that I actually really like. So Necropolis is a very interesting game because it just came out recently, and it's something that I've been waiting for a while, and mainly because it boasts to be a mixture between Dark Souls and games with roguelike elements, so like Binding of Isaac and Spelunky. But right now we're just going to pick whatever kind of character we want to play as. Most of the options that you'll have here are just aesthetic based, so if you want to play as a woman or a man, and whatever color you want to be, I choose this one. So yeah, I've spent quite a few hours of the game. Probably, I would guess, around 5. And I've seen a lot that the game has to offer, and honestly, I'm quite impressed because I had my doubts originally from watching a lot of E3 coverage. I'm just like, the concept seems good, but I don't know if the gameplay is going to feel right. Because one of the things that I love about Dark Souls and why it has my favorite combat of all time is because it just does combat so fluently. And this game in particular makes me really, really just dig the combat entirely. Let me just make sure that I'm attacking these guys. So when you load into the game, you'll find that when you defeat enemies, you'll actually have the opportunity to pick up their weapon. And that's another thing that's really interesting, is that whenever you fight an enemy, they'll drop something. It might not always be a sword, it might be a shield, it might be a staff, it could be literally anything. Well, not literally anything, but it could be whatever you need it to be. So it's really, really useful to have that option. So you can pretty much switch weapons on the fly. This is something that you'd think would be more present in just regular RPGs, but it's just not. So this is the Scriptorium. So this is pretty much books which are kind of like character upgrades that you can kind of choose, and you unlock them with tokens that you unlock throughout just playing the game. You can see at the bottom of the screen: eat food of arcane variety, exterminate vermin, and dismantle clockwork knights. If you do those, if you complete those on individual runs, you'll get more triangle tokens, and you can play this game a little bit more. So I'm just going to be choosing Eating is Overrated, which is a very useful book because you can actually eat a lot less than you normally would. So there are 2 options and 2 different ways to go. I think they pretty much spawn different enemies, whichever one you want to go to. So if you open this door and there's like a bunch of enemies you really don't want to fight, if there's a certain type of enemy you don't want to fight, then you can just choose the other door. Oh, okay, well that's fair. I didn't even see you. Alright, stay out of the way. Alright, spiders. If you have a fear of spiders, I apologize, because these guys are super in your face. So yeah. But yeah, the combat, I can't stress enough, feels incredibly fluent, and it's a ton of fun to play. And something that's also really cool about this game is that there's online co-op. So if you have... So it's up to 4 people, and you can play with as a crew of like 4 of your good friends and just kind of do some dungeon adventuring together. So that's what, for that reason, and the reason that the game is supposed to feel alive, you actually can't pause the game. So if you ever need to go to the bathroom, you're kind of out of luck unless you exit the game itself. Alright, these guys have really awesome weapons, and I'm going to take one of them when I get the chance. Okay, I can't quite get to it yet. I love the special attacks. So yeah, you hold right trigger to pull special attacks on your enemies. So I'm actually going to be picking up their weapons because swords with electricity are just better than regular swords. Everyone knows this. But as you can see, that I've actually been draining my endurance. And the way that endurance works in this game is that if you eat food, you'll not only gain HP back, but you'll gain your endurance back. The way you lose endurance is if you use an attack of any kind, but especially with stronger attacks, you will start to lose your endurance. So actually now I have an upgraded shield as well, which is great to have. This kite shield will help us a lot. Is this a kite shield, or is this a... I'm trying to think, is it a tower shield? I can't even remember. I'm trying to think. Pretty much all of my weapon knowledge comes from Dark Souls, so that's something to note. Speaking of Dark Souls, I am a person who has played all of the Dark Souls games, and I'm a huge fan of that series in general. And how do I feel as a Dark Souls fan going into this game? Well, first off, there are definitely a lot of differences between this and Dark Souls 1. It looks completely different. I love the art style of this game, but like Dark Souls has a totally different feel and style. Does that bother me at all? Actually, no, it doesn't. I think this style really fits the gameplay in a really, really beneficial way. And I think it lends itself more to being played a lot as opposed to just a memorable experience. Like, I could see myself playing this a ton because it's a little bit cartoony, but not in like a bad way, but in like a just kind of fun, easy to look at kind of way. The tones that you see a lot in the game are very easy to look at. I was not fighting those guys properly. With those enemies, you have to wait for them to attack you, and then you attack them after. But let's continue through here. But yeah, the combat feels very varied. I know Bloodborne is very aggression-focused, and Dark Souls is definitely just defense-focused. And this, I don't know if it strikes a balance in between. There are definitely a lot of aggression-type attacks, which are good, and it really depends on how you play. Well, let me get back. These guys are definitely a pain, but as you can kind of notice there, something that's cool with the enemies is that they can actually attack each other, which is incredibly useful and a really interesting way to do the combat here. And it actually affects you in multiplayer as well. You can actually attack your friends. Yeah, he just finished him off for me, which must be embarrassing for him. I do not want to be at their next office meeting because that would be kind of awkward, but it won't happen because they're all dead. Alright, so I'm going to drink this unknown potion, and actually gave me a very negative effect in that I bombed all over the floor. So when you find potions in the game, you can actually find like random ones that you can't see the effects of, and when you take them, you have a chance of poisoning yourself or giving yourself a really good attribute. You can eventually figure out what they do, but you're gonna have to get a certain kind of scroll to figure it out. So what I'm actually gonna do here is, this is my inventory, by the way. So you can see the swords I have and the shields I have, and my Blackguard robe. So you can actually get different types of armor in the game as well. But that's, from what I've seen, it's actually pretty rare. So here we go into crafting. Crafting, it's not like crazy Minecraft kind of stuff, but when you defeat an enemy, you'll actually see that they will drop stuff. So they'll drop fungus or torn flesh or whatever. So here we're actually going to make some iron rations, which is pretty much just like upgraded version of these. These are just kind of like a tier list. So I've made 2 iron rations, and I'm going to be making some standard rations. So this will not only restore our endurance, but our health, and this one will be a lot more effective than just the regular rations. Eat it up. And now we can continue our dungeon exploring. So again, I was kind of talking a little bit about how I feel as a Dark Souls fan playing this game, and it's funny, the comparisons that I've been kind of thinking about as I've played the game is that it's really interesting that I see my lives a lot differently than I do in Dark Souls. Because in Dark Souls, there's no penalty for death. Death is part of that game. But for this one, your whole run is over. Everything is gone. So there's definitely a different feeling there. There's a good feeling of exploration, which you don't really get to feel in a lot of Dark Souls games. Like, unless you're doing it the first time around, obviously. But a lot of Dark Souls games, like Dark Souls is a game that is a great game to just replay a bunch of times, and by this point I've already explored everything in Dark Souls, and having one life makes you really want to preserve it and actually care about it, and it gives each life stakes, which is something that is really cool and really unique to this particular experience. I also like the other elements that it borrows from games like Monster Hunter. So like the endurance system is straight out of Monster Hunter if you've ever played that game. So you heal up. It mirrors everything even from like the endurance. And we've come across something that might actually turn out to be a little bit difficult here. So those red crystals that are popping right out of the ground, yeah, they're going to be a bit of a problem because they spawn enemies. And these enemies are a lot like Red Phantoms in Dark Souls, mainly because they're not like they're your traditional enemy, they're quick. They are much like the player character, and that's why they're a little bit more tricky to defeat. We've clearly aggroed that guy over there. I'm hoping I can avoid his attacks. The best way to attack a big group of enemies is just using your special attacks. It will really deplete your endurance, but, you know, you don't have to really focus on it too much. And this guy gets spawned again. The only way to get rid of those red crystals is to defeat the waves of enemies that it produces. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're losing way more HP than I'm comfortable with, but we'll be fine. Hopefully, anyway. There's nothing left there, so we're going to continue. I've passed up a lot of these weapons. There's nothing more you can do with them after... no. There's nothing more you can do with them if you're not interested in getting them. I actually didn't know you could destroy that. There's a lot of environmental stuff, like you can like go to like little carts and, oh, okay, well, it looks like... The screen went red. I was like, are there more phantoms? Am I going to have to fight more phantoms? No. The answer is no. What's in here? The answer might be yes, because I'm not digging this red glow. I don't want to fight any more phantoms, dude. All right, what is over here? I have never seen a room like this before. There is a wizard in the middle. And a upgraded shield, but I'm fine with my my cool kite shield, or non-kite shield. I think kite shields are the like the traditional ones that you see. Let me just GTFO. All right, let's just run. Okay, please get out of the way before. All right, that was a mistake on your part, friend. So yeah, you have to learn the patterns of each enemy. So those guys with the weird hats, who kind of look a little bit like Artorias, they will always attack first. So you pretty much always have to wait for them to attack and then attack them. We're still incredibly low on health here, which is really not good, as you might expect. Let me see if I can craft anything more. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Alright, I don't like this. Because you can't pause, you have to be very careful where you're crafting things. Especially because enemies can respawn. We should be good with these. I'm just going to eat one and then continue. And we'll wait to use the other one, because right now I can't heal my endurance anymore. Hey friends, what's going on in here? Why is there a statue of a wizard? I want to meet this wizard. Something that's also kind of missing from this game is like there is there's like a ton of really cool weapon variety, but there's something that just feels missing to me, and I can't really explain too well why. What's missing is that you can't dual wield weapons, and you can't choose exactly where your weapons go. So like in Dark Souls, you can, if you have like a regular sword, you can dual wield it. And the reason I like that so much is that it feels like you can really like wield the weapon however you want to. Like there's multiple ways to wield it. And it feels missing from this game. And also you can't dual wield weapons either. So if like I want to use two swords, I feel like I should be able to. I'm never the kind of player who uses two swords, or I think it's a good viable strategy in any fight, but it's something that I don't know, it feels missing weirdly. And yeah, being able to dual wield your being able to use your weapons with one hand feels like it would come in handy for like the other types of weapons, like the bigger types of great swords that you can find later in the game. And I really have to take my own advice here and just kind of wait for him to attack me first. Feel like a big dummy. I went too far. I'm going too far with my wanting to attack him. But yeah, at any rate, I'm enjoying it. But yeah, the differences from Dark Souls is definitely palpable, and the similarities to roguelikes is also interesting as well, because usually roguelike games fall into like a certain types of categories. The ones that first off will have permadeath and nothing, and every single run is new and nothing carries over, which this is not, since you have those triangle tokens. And also the types of games that differ in length. Now, I haven't beaten the game yet, but I'm pretty sure to beat the game, you'll have to invest a few hours into each campaign. It's weird calling it a campaign, but, you know, I think it fits here. So yeah, you have to invest hours into each campaign, which is something that is a little bit different from a lot of games. Like The Binding of Isaac, which is one of the more popular roguelike games in the past few years, those rounds usually only take about 45 minutes. And games like Spelunky, again, a good run will only take maybe 45 to 50 minutes. So this one is definitely on the longer side. It feels like an adventure, and I think by the time you're done, it's going to feel like you've actually accomplished something. Which is totally, fine with me. I'm the type of person who's played through Dark Souls 1, 2, and actually almost 3 now, like multiple times. So having a game like this is really awesome to have. Like, I'm so glad that this is a thing that is made and I can have. So yeah, again, on that note, I want to talk about my impressions, because that's kind of what we're talking about here, and whether or not I like the game and you should buy it. First off, from what I've said, yes, I really, really like the game. Whether or not I love it, I think time will tell a little bit. I gotta see a little bit later in the game. What I've seen of the early game is really good, but again, late game stuff really does matter, and I can't just sell a game based on... I can't sell a game. I can't fully say that I love a game until I've seen the late game, because they could totally shit the bed and I wouldn't even know. But what I've seen of the game and how I feel about it now and how I feel about its progression, I really, really enjoy it. It was definitely a buy that I was kind of wary of, because $30 is a lot of money for a game. And I know that most retail games, and at least even in Canada, are like $80 to $90 now. But I kind of shop a little bit more. I'm definitely frugal when it comes to games. I usually wait for Steam sales and stuff like that. So it takes a big game to come out for me to actually buy it and feel good about the purchase. And I definitely feel good about my purchase here. But should you get it, I would say that if you're on the fence... if you like games like... Oh, that is straight up death right there. If you like games like Dark Souls, like if you love Dark Souls, you love the Dark Souls combat, love the feel, and you love games that have like no end, so like games like Binding of Isaac, Spelunky, even Enter the Gungeon, and games that you can just play for a long time, get your money's worth out of, this is the game for you. Definitely, I would say. But if you're on the fence, if you maybe... you'll really like roguelike games, but you're not really sure about Dark Souls, like you've never played it. First off, I would say go play Dark Souls. Dark Souls 1 usually goes on sale for $15 all the time. Highly recommend it, and yeah, it's Dark Souls 1, I wouldn't say is a masterpiece, because I think, it's probably not, but it's really amazing. And I also like Dark Souls 2 as well. But if you're like that, then I would say wait for a Steam sale. Wait for the price to go down. If you really like Dark Souls but not sure about indie games, I would say buy it, because it's good and it's fun. And if you're looking for a way to play games like Dark Souls and you're done with Dark Souls 3, then I would highly recommend picking it up. But that's just me. I would say, take everything with a grain of salt. Check out some other reviews out there as well. And, $30 is a lot of money, and if you're watching this, then you care about what you buy, probably. So yeah, just watch more gameplay and get a feel for what the game is more like, because there's more stages other than this as well. There's a lot of diversity in the art style, and there's a lot more to see than what I've shown you here. But we're going to continue throughout these levels and see what we can see. But a lot of the combat is like this. You'll be fighting waves of people, and yeah, it's a great time. And if you also, I will say that if you're on the fence and not sure if you should buy it, if you have friends who are willing to play with you, this game would probably be a must-buy. I haven't played it with friends yet, but you know, any game is fun with friends, and I feel like this game would be a ton of fun with friends who, if they're into it, this game would be a ton of fun with friends. Alrighty, so it looks like we've come just about to the end of the level. Alright, so we're going to be opening up this door. And so this is the hub between each individual world. Here you can change up your upgrade books, so like I can change my book from that. And you can actually buy stuff from a shop lady, which I will show off here. Oh, there she is. Or she or he. Oh, it's Old Man Necropolis Essentials. Right, definitely a man. So you can actually buy a lot of stuff here. So scroll of identification, so these will actually show us what random potions are. So if you have a bunch of random potions, that's the best time to use it. So you get the best bang for your buck in that case. So I bought one of those, and I'm going to buy an upgrade to my health. So yeah, for 500 gems you can do that. And what I really want to show off here, and this is probably going to be around the end of the video, but I want to show off this because it's really, really cool. As you can probably see in the distance, there's a really cool imagery around, and it's something that really took my breath away the first time I saw it. I actually saw some pop in from those buildings, but yeah, it looks great. And there's a lot of really cool variation between each individual level as well. So this level will look different from the last level, and there's like swamps, there's like a lot of really cool stuff. But yeah, this is actually where I'm going to be ending off the video. If you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, and you know, leave a comment. It helps the channel grow, and I hope to see you guys in the future. Bye guys.